Hi, and welcome back to my crochet corner here at AllThingsCrafty. And we are going to do a nice pattern today, and it's going to be one of my new patterns I just finished making, and I did one, I loved it, and I wanted to try it in this color. So this here is Charisma. That's the name of it. It's a 3.5 ounce skein, and I use a little bit more than one, so less than 1.5. It's a number 5 bulky yarn, and I'm going to use a 7mm hook with it. I have all my supplies: tape measure, scissors, yarn needle, hook, and my 1.5 skeins. And we will get started. And in order to fit the whole project in this video from start to finish, there's obviously a lot of fast forward going on, so I thought I'd do a little something different, add some spice to all of the fast forwarding, so it's not just watching and listening to the music. So today I will pick one of my recent true crime favorite stories, and I'll share that with you through all the fast forwarding. So first, let's get started with the actual pattern. So I'm going to start with the slip knot, if I can find it. Alright, here we go. Start with the slip knot. And instead of my usual hats where I make a band about 18.5 inches and then I join it and work around the sides of the band, this hat is going to be done differently. We're just going to make a rectangle. So the length of this chain is going to be the height of the hat. So having said that, we are going to, for an adult size, I'm going to chain 33. And I know that looks long for the height of a hat, but you will see what it looks like when we're done. So this is where I start. We will work our rectangle up, make it approximately 18.5 or so inches in height, and then I will show you how to create a hat from your rectangle. Alright, so here we go. For the instructions, I am going to, this is the Granite Hat, and I'm going to do the granite stitch, sometimes called the moss stitch. I'm going to be doing that for the entire hat. So I am going to second chain from the hook, do a single crochet. Then a third chain from the hook, another single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 1, skip a chain, next chain, single crochet, chain 1, skip a chain, next chain, single crochet, chain 1. That is it all the way to the end for row 1. Skip a chain, single crochet, in the next, chain 1. Skip a chain, single crochet in the next, chain 1. So I will meet you after the end of the first row. Just by the way, I may notice I am going in through the little bump in the back of my chain, my starting chain. I don't go through the regular loop. I go through the little bump on the back of my starting chain. That is totally optional, as long as you go through the chain. That's all that matters. This is just my personal preference. It looks better when I'm closing the hat and joining it, to me. And so my last chain and chain one and turn. Okay, so now row 2, this is the row that will repeat throughout the remainder of the hat. So in the first stitch, the first single crochet, I'm going to single crochet. Then in that space, I'm going to single crochet, and then chain one. And in each space, not stitch, but each space, I'm going to single crochet all across, and basically do the same for the rest of the hat. When I get to the last 2 single crochets, I skip that next to last single crochet. Wait a minute, after I do just get to the last 2, I skip the next to the last, and then I single crochet into the last single crochet, chain one and turn. Again, single crochet in the first chain, no chain one, then single crochet in that space, then chain one, space, single crochet, chain one. The pattern together and we know what we're doing. Make sure you grab your coffee, tea, beverage of your choice, and the project you're working on, and we're gonna get started with the crime story. Okay, so this is the story, true story, of course. It took place in Bonita Springs, Florida, and it was the murder of Dr. Teresa Slavers. Now, Dr. Slavers was a internal medicine doctor, and she focused on holistic medicine. And she had a practice. She was big on social media. Um, she was very well known. She had a husband, Mark, 2 daughters, small little girls, and she went to her mother's birthday party, which she had to travel for. She came back
was last seen in the airport on surveillance, and she went home the next day. Her office, she didn't show up to work, so the personnel at her office called her husband, who was out of town, and they were texting him that Teresa didn't show up for work. So he tried calling the house, didn't get any answer. So he called his neighbor, and he asked his neighbor, it's unlike her, can you just check on her? She's probably asleep. She just came back from a long trip. So the neighbor goes to her house and finds her dead in the kitchen with a massive head wound. And he called the police, and you know, they came and launched the murder investigation. So, of course, with all investigations, they start with the people closest to her. So, they interviewed her husband, and he displayed weird behavior on the videos of his interrogation. Just, whenever the interrogators would leave the room, he'd start acting and performing in front of the cameras. That's the best way to put it. He just start talking to himself and freaking out and screaming, why? So they were already a little skeptical on him, but they really had nothing to go on. Nothing was out of place. Nothing was stolen. All this cash was in the house, in the safe. Nothing was taken. So they started looking into this theory that there were some other holistic doctors who specialized in holistic medicine that turned up dead, like 5 of them. So they kind of pursued that angle a little bit. They thought maybe it was some government conspiracy, something like that. Nothing panned out. Wasn't that. Then, out of nowhere, they got a tip. The two men, Curtis and Jimmy, all the way in the state of Missouri, remember this took place in Florida, all the way in the state of Missouri, had committed the murders. So, lo and behold, they find out that Curtis, one of the men, was Mark Cleaver's, Teresa's husband's best friend. So they were best friends since high school. So they interviewed the men. They denied ever being in Florida. The police were able to quickly find that that wasn't true. They found the GPS system in the car that outlined every move they made, found that they were in Florida shopping. They got the store video surveillance, found all of the things that they purchased at the store, which was, you know, intriguing to the police investigation, the things that they purchased. And so one of the men, Jimmy, his nickname was the Hammer. All over, that's what he called himself all over his Facebook page and whatever. So they reached his girlfriend, and she gave a statement that yeah, he did kill her, and he told her, and she said, I heard that you went to Florida to kill somebody. He said yeah, and she said, well, did you shoot her? And he's like, no, I used a hammer. So she was like, she helped him dispose of bloody clothes and other evidence, and she took police to the site, and they were able to find it. So they literally had this case against Curtis and Jimmy. Now, they were trying them separately. Curtis comes up requesting a plea deal, stating that Mark hired them to hired him to do it, and he got his friend Jimmy. So he said Jimmy did the actual murder, hit her with a hammer several times, and he said that he was there basically because of um, Mark. Mark said they were having marital problems. She was cheating. It was financial. All these things. So he was like, I just have to have her dead. So Jimmy was tried and found guilty of second-degree murder. And then the prosecution put a case against the husband Mark together. And of course Curtis was the, you know, big part of their case. So okay, so the Curtis's testimony was that the he got married a few months before Teresa's murder. And so he had um met his Mark had his the husband Mark had flew out for his wedding, and they had made a this plan. He asked Curtis to kill his wife, and they made a plan on how they were going to get it done. And so Mark asked him to kill her when she left work, as she left work one night. And Curtis was hesitant about that because he thought, well, what if she leaves with somebody? And Mark, her husband, was like, well, that's perfect, because then it just looks like a random act. And, you know, if they both get killed and it's like a random act, and it takes even more suspicion away from him. So anyway, they decided to just, you know, wait for her when she arrived home from the trip. Nobody was going to be home but her. And that's when they did it. So now the defense for Mark, the husband, their defense was that Curtis was somehow in love with Mark since high school and was jealous that he was married with a beautiful family and didn't want him to, quote unquote, have it all. So, needless to say, the verdict came down. The jury did not buy that, and he was found, guilty of first degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. So then Teresa's family read a victim impact statement to ask for the death penalty. And then Mark was able to make a statement, you know, against the death penalty. So then the jury decided, they voted. Oh, and his children actually wrote a letter asking for him not to get the death penalty. They said they didn't want a new relationship with him, but if they did ever in the future, they wouldn't be able to if he was dead. But they did ask for no death penalty. Um, and these kids were, I would like to say, somewhere between, you know, 6 and 8 at the time. So that their mother was murdered. So I don't know how many years had passed when the trial was held. But anyway, that was the statements that were read before the jury, and then their sentence came back to the death penalty. They did vote for the death penalty. Side note, as you can see, this rectangle is coming out, almost done here. I measured, and when it reaches 18.5 inches, that is the desired length for me to fold it in half and then join with the slip stitch. So you'll see me do that shortly. My angles was all wrong, so most of it you could not see, but that's what I did, joined it with the slip stitch, and finished off the hat. So, lastly, as far as this case is concerned, jury voted for death penalty, and then there was one other part to it. The judge had to decide if he wanted to overturn the jury's ruling or vote for death, and he did vote for death. And so, Mark Sleevers is currently the only man in Florida's death row that did not physically commit a violent crime. And that's the story of Teresa, Dr. Teresa Slivers. And I'll try to find another good case for my next video. Um, I am definitely a true crime fanatic, so there's no shortage of cases to talk about. But that was fun. So just finishing off this hat, we are um, just at the point where the rectangle is done, and to start slip stitching to join. Alright, final measurements. slip stitch. It's folded in half. And I'm going through the front loop of the first half and the back loop of the second side. Sorry, the front loop of the first side and the back loop of the second side, and slip stitching. And so now the slip stitch is done. I am just weaving in and out whip stitch to pull it and close it like a drawstring. So that's this part of it all around the top. I'm weaving in and out, and that will allow me to just tightly pull that string once I'm done, and it'll close the top of the hat. And then I will just continue using the yarn needle to close it. And then I just added I didn't get a good enough angle to show all of that, but I did add a fox fur pom to the top, and that's how it came out. I love the color, and that is the Granite Hat. And I really liked how that looks. I might try it with a band at the bottom as well. I did do another one in another color, so this is the second one I made with this pattern. So I will show both hats. That was a very pretty stitch. And I will show the blue. So if you hung in there for the whole video, I'd like to thank you so much. And if you like true crime, please consider subscribing. Each video I'll try to feature a new case and see how you like it.